My stepmother loathed me. As a child, I'd left our yard gate open while playing at a friend's house. My younger brother wandered out, was hit by a car, and died. My father, who adored him, shattered with grief, accused me of leaving the gate open on purpose. He locked me in the basement and raised me like an animal. Years later, starving after days without food, I crept upstairs and overheard my stepmother with her lover. "If you hadn't left the gate open," she whispered, "I wouldn't fear my husband learning we killed Michael. It was them all along." She saw me, panicked, and threw me down the stairs. I woke up again on the day my brother died. This time, I pointed upstairs and sweetly told my father, "Daddy, I did close the gate. The man in Mommy's bedroom left it open." "Lily, did you really see a man leave the gate open?" My father stood just outside the yard, his bloodshot eyes boring into me. A cold sneer formed in my mind. Look at him, so broken up over his precious son in my last life. I explained over and over that I closed the gate, but he only listened to the venom my stepmother whispered in his ear. He was utterly convinced that I had murdered his only son. My own mother died, bringing me into this world, before her memorial was even over. He brought my stepmother, already pregnant, into our home. That woman, Charlotte, secured her position as the lady of the house, with a premature baby boy, a birth that ruined her body, and left her unable to have any more children. So Michael became the center of my father's universe. After Michael died, Dad treated me like a dog. I ate from a dog bowl, slept in a cage, and was forced to bark to appease his impotent rage and his guilt towards Charlotte. This time I wouldn't be so stupid. I would use his masculine pride, his all-consuming love for his son, to drag that wretched pair through the mud. So the first thing I did after being reborn was to head straight home to catch my stepmother in the act. But I never made it. As I turned back, I saw him, Michael, standing right in the middle of the road. In the distance, my father's face was a mask of horror. I was closer, wanting to make a good impression this time. I lunged forward and pulled Michael back. Just as the car screeched past, I saved him, but not entirely. He didn't die instantly like before, but the tires crushed his legs, leaving him crippled. "Honey!" Charlotte's shriek tore through the air. She scrambled over, snot and tears streaming down her face, and clung to my father's arm. "Don't listen to this little bitch's lies. Her mother died, and she's always hated us. She opened the gate on purpose. She wanted to kill Michael before Dad could react." I scurried over on my little legs and threw my arms around his thighs. I tilted my grimy face up, looking at him with the purest, most innocent eyes I could muster. "No, Daddy." I didn't. My voice was small and thick with tears, overflowing with injustice. "I want a mommy to love me too, but she doesn't. I thought if I was nice to Michael, you would both love me." I squeezed out a few fat tears as I spoke, my little hand pointing towards my brother, who was wailing in pain from his shattered legs. "I give Michael my milk every day, and I let him play with my favorite teddy bear just now. If I hadn't pulled him back, he would have flown up to heaven and couldn't play with me anymore. My teacher says we have to be kind and look after the young. I did that. Lily is a good girl. You have to believe me, Daddy." Since I had always acted sweet to Michael to please my father, the words flowed from my lips without a hint of shame. I hugged his leg tighter, clinging to him, with all the desperate strength the child could possess. Then I cast my line. "If you don't believe me, you can go upstairs right now and find that man. I bet he hasn't even left yet." My father's face darkened, twisting into a thunderous mask. He reached down and pinched my cheek, his voice a low growl. "Daddy believes you." With that, he spun around and stormed towards the house, moving not like a man about to catch a cheater, but like a soldier heading into battle. Charlotte's face went white. She tried to grab him, but missed, stamping her foot in desperation. "Honey, the most important thing right now is getting our son to the hospital." But my father could tolerate many things, but not betrayal, not this. His son's legs were nothing compared to his pride. Didn't even look back as he charged upstairs. Of course, he found nothing. The man was long gone, but the cloying scent of a strange man's cologne hung heavy in the air, a scent so thick it was suffocating. Charlotte, ever the actress, burst into fresh tears. He fumbled in her purse and pulled out an exquisitely packaged bottle of men's cologne. Her voice choked with sobs. "Honey, this was a gift for you. I wanted it to be a surprise." It was an excuse a ghost wouldn't believe. But my father had no proof. An ambulance wailed in the distance, arriving to take Michael away. Before he got in, my father stared hard at Charlotte, hissing through his teeth. "If I find out some bastard was the reason my son's legs were broken, I'll make sure his entire family pays." I was frantic, but powerless. I knew Charlotte was cunning, that she had prepared for this. I couldn't beat her in one move. I'd have to find another chance. At the hospital, Michael wouldn't stop crying from the pain. I immediately rushed to his bedside, grabbing his small hand. "Don't cry, Michael." I choked out. "Big sister is here." He must have been dazed from the fall. Or maybe my false kindness over the years had actually worked. He instinctively burrowed into my side. "Really saved me," he mumbled. My father, standing nearby, praised me for being so mature. But then his gaze fell on Michael's cast-covered legs. And he sighed heavily. "Thank God." He muttered it wasn't worse. With no proof, the mystery of the open gate remained just that. My father could only eye Charlotte with suspicion, while she played the part of the devoted, gentle wife to perfection, insisting the old gate latch had simply given away. And so the matter was quietly dropped back home. Charlotte's kindness towards me became almost suffocating. She cooked my favorite meals, bought me beautiful new dresses, and even tucked me in at night. She was so tender, you'd think I was her real daughter. My father saw all of this, and his suspicions began to fade. He probably figured that even if a woman had strayed, she'd come back to her senses for the sake of her child and her family. But I knew better. The nicer she was, the more it proved her guilt. She was desperately trying to wash the filth off herself, so she could dump it all back onto me. I was waiting for the fox to show its tail. But for all my planning, all my caution, I had underestimated her venom. One Saturday morning, Charlotte sent me upstairs to my room to do my homework. She then wheeled a sleeping Michael out onto the second-floor balcony to get some sun. I looked up from my workbook, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach. And then it happened. Just as my father pushed open the front door, a loud crash followed by Charlotte's blood-curdling scream echoed from the stairwell.
"Ah, Lily.
How could you push your brother?" My father, just stepping inside, froze. He looked up and saw me standing in the second-floor hallway. And below, at the bottom of the stairs, Michael lay tangled in his overturned wheelchair. I clenched my fist. "Stay calm, Lily."
You have to stay calm, Daddy."
"I didn't push him," I said, my voice trembling just enough to sound like a terrified child. "I was in my room doing my homework. Mommy was on the balcony with Michael. My father was holding my unconscious brother, his bloodshot eyes fixed on me like a predator about to pounce." Charlotte immediately jumped in. I told Lily to watch Michael on the second floor, while I went next door to borrow some scallions from Mrs. Scable. "She can prove it." A cold smile touched my lips.
A perfect alibi.
She had timed my father's return perfectly, deliberately finding a neighbor to be her witness. Sure enough, Mrs. Scable, who had always been friendly with Charlotte, squeezed through the crowd of onlookers, her face a mask of righteousness. "It's true, Daniel. Charlotte was just at my place, getting scallions for that braised fish you love so much." I saw her walk back into her yard with my own two eyes. She wasn't finished. She pointed a finger at me, her voice dripping with condemnation. "But your daughter here?" When we came over, we saw her just standing on the second floor, staring down at the scene without a single reaction. "Honestly, Lily, how can a child be so cruel? I bet it was you who left the gate open last time, wasn't it?" Her words were like a stone tossed into a pond, sending ripples of gossip through the neighbors.
She's right.
That girl's always had a mean look about her. So jealous at such a young age. She'll be real trouble when she's older. Seeing her advantage, Charlotte covered her face and began to sob, her body slumping weakly against my father. "Honey, don't blame Lily. The gate incident was probably just an accident. And maybe this wasn't on purpose either." Her feigned defense only sealed my guilt. My father's gaze turned to ice. I had seen it. He had seen Charlotte rushing in from the yard in a panic, while I stood on the second floor like a cold, detached spectator. Seeing is believing. "Last time I saw you pull your brother back with my own eyes, and I believed you." My father's voice was hoarse, terrifying. "Now I see you push him down the stairs with my own eyes. But what else do you have to say for yourself?" The trust in his eyes shattered, replaced by a disgust so thick it was palpable. "You don't even look scared, Lily. That rescue last time, was that all an act for me, too?" Tears instantly welled in my eyes. "It wasn't me," I screamed, crying. "It was the man Mommy brought home. The same man from before. That's why Mommy had time to go see Mrs. Gable. Daddy, don't you believe me?" Through my sobs, I yelled with all my might, "Call the police. We have to call the police. On TV, they say to call the police when you're in trouble. Let the officers check the wheelchair for fingerprints. They'll prove that Lily is innocent." On my father's arm wrapped around Charlotte, loosened slightly. I knew my words were working. I choked back a sob, my eyes fixed on my unconscious brother. "Daddy, if there's really a bad person in our house who wants to hurt Michael, what's going to happen to him?" Question was a needle piercing straight into his most vulnerable spot. Charlotte's face went deathly pale. She bit her lip. Then, as if making a decision, she lifted her head, her eyes swimming with tears as she looked at my father. That's what I should be saying to you. The three of us were happy. If it wasn't for this little monster, would our family ever know peace? Voice was thick with emotion, every word torn from her soul. Honey, I gave up everything to be with you, to give you a son. How could I possibly harm our own flesh and blood? I cook for you every day. I keep this house perfect. Have you forgotten all of that? It doesn't matter if you misunderstand me, but I'm scared for you. I'm scared you'll be blinded by this ungrateful viper and live to regret it. My challenge hung in the air, a guillotine blade waiting to drop. Call the police. It was the one thing a guilty person feared most, and the one thing a confused, grieving father might cling to if he truly wanted answers. My father looked at Charlotte. The suspicion I had planted earlier, the cologne, the open gate, was now being watered by her sheer panic. Police? Charlotte stammered, her grip on his arm tightening until her knuckles turned white. Daniel, look at this house. Look at us. Do you want the neighbors seeing squad cars? Do you want the papers to say the great Daniel Black's family is under investigation? It will destroy the company's stock. She was smart. She aimed right for his vanity. My father hesitated. The rage in his eyes dulled into calculation. He looked at Michael, unconscious and broken at the bottom of the stairs, and then at me. No police, he grunted. Charlotte exhaled, a sound like a tire losing air. Thank God. You're making the right choice, honey. We handle this as a family. However, my father interrupted, his voice dropping to a register that made the hair on my arm stand up. He peeled Charlotte's fingers off his arm. Lily is right about one thing. If there is a man or if someone in this house is trying to kill my son, I will find out. He walked over to the overturned wheelchair. He didn't touch it. He pulled a handkerchief from his pocket and picked up a small, shiny object lying next to the wheel. It was a gold cufflink. It wasn't his. Charlotte gasped, a short, sharp intake of breath she tried to disguise as a sob. I recognized that cufflink. I had seen it in my past life, flashing on the wrist of the man who helped kill me. Is this yours, Charlotte? Dad asked, holding it up to the light. Did you buy men's cufflinks along with the cologne?
I.
She was drowning. I must have bought those for you too. They fell out of my purse. My initials aren't G.H., my father said softly. He pocketed the cufflink. He didn't scream. He didn't hit her. He simply turned to the housekeeper who had been cowering in the kitchen doorway. Call the ambulance. And call the locksmith. I want every lock in this house changed by tonight. And install cameras in every hallway. If a fly enters this house without my permission, I want it recorded.
He looked at me. Go to your room, Lily.
If you come out before I say so, I will break your legs myself. I nodded, keeping my face a mask of terrified obedience, but inside, I was smiling. He didn't trust her. The seed had sprouted. The hospital days were a blur of tension. Michael survived, but his condition was critical. He had a severe concussion and more fractures in his already damaged legs. I was left at home with a nanny my father hired, a stern, older woman named Mrs. Higgins who watched me like a hawk. But she wasn't loyal to Charlotte. She was loyal to the paycheck. This gave me freedom to explore the house, while Charlotte was playing the grieving mother at the hospital. I went straight to the master bedroom. I needed to know who GH was. I rifled through Charlotte's vanity, checking for hidden compartments. Nothing. I checked under the mattress. Nothing. Then I remembered. In my past life, Charlotte had been paranoid about her weight. She kept a food diary in the back of her closet inside a shoebox. I climbed onto a stool and reached for the box on the top shelf. Inside, beneath receipts for low-calorie shakes, was a burner phone. My heart hammered against my ribs. I turned it on. It had 2% battery. I scrolled through the texts. There was only one contact. G. Monday. He suspects nothing. The brat is annoying but harmless. Wednesday. Michael is becoming a problem. He saw us in the garden. Today. Sent just before the fall, it's done. The wheelchair is rigged. Come pick me up if he kicks me out. I quickly memorized the number for G. I didn't dare take the phone. She would notice it missing. I put everything back exactly as I found it.
Who was G? GH.
I went downstairs to my father's study. On the wall hung a photograph of the company's board of directors. I scanned the names. Daniel Black, CEO. Robert Stones, CFO. Gavin Hunter, legal counsel. Gavin Hunter. My father's best friend since college. The godfather of the son Charlotte had just tried to kill. The betrayal was so thick, I could taste it like bile. 2 weeks later, Michael came home. He was different. The silence that wrapped around him wasn't just from the injury, it was fear. He lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling. Charlotte hovered over him, feeding him soup with a shaking hand, her eyes darting constantly to the newly installed cameras in the corners of the room. My father was rarely home. He was hunting. I knew he was investigating Gavin, but Gavin was a lawyer. He covered his tracks well. Dad needed proof. One afternoon, Charlotte went to the pharmacy. Mrs. Higgins was in the kitchen. I slipped into Michael's room. "Mikey," I whispered. He flinched, his eyes squeezing shut. "Don't hurt me." "I'm not going to hurt you," I said, climbing onto the chair next to his bed. "I'm the one who pulled you back from the car. Remember?" He opened one eye. "Mommy says you pushed me." "Mommy lies," I said simply. It was a gamble, speaking to a child like an adult, but I didn't have time for games. "Mommy pushed you, Michael. I saw her. And you saw her too, didn't you?" His lower lip trembled. Tears leaked out. She was on the phone. She said she didn't want a cripple. She said she could make another one." The cruelty took my breath away. She had said that to his face before pushing him? "Listen to me, Michael." I grabbed his hand. "She is bad. A monster lives inside her skin. But Dad doesn't know. We have to tell him. But not with words. Adults don't listen to kids." "What do we do?" he whispered. "We play a game," I said, a cold smile forming. "We're going to make the monster show her teeth." The opportunity came a week later. My father's birthday. In my past life, this was the day Charlotte announced she was pregnant again, a lie to cement her position. I anticipated she would try the same trick tonight to win back his favor. The house was filled with guests. Business partners, neighbors, and of course, Gavin Hunter. Gavin was a handsome man, slick and charming. He clapped my father on the back, pouring him drinks, acting the part of the loyal brother. Charlotte wore a red dress, looking radiant, though her eyes were tight with anxiety. I was dressed in a frilly white dress, looking like a doll. I walked through the party, holding a tray of appetizers. "Lily, darling, go upstairs," Charlotte hissed when she cornered me near the kitchen. "You're embarrassing us." "Okay, Mommy," I smiled. "I just wanted to give Uncle Gavin this note." A man outside gave it to me. Charlotte snatched the note from my hand. Her face drained of color as she read it. I had written it myself, forging the handwriting from the old love letters I found in the shoebox. The PI found the phone. He knows everything. "Meet me in the boathouse now. We need to run."
G.
I watched her glance across the room. Gavin was laughing with my father. She couldn't ask him. She had to assume he had sent it through an intermediary to avoid suspicion. She looked at my father, then at the door. Panic 1. She slipped out the French doors toward the garden. I waited 30 seconds, then I tugged on my father's jacket. "Daddy." He looked down, annoyed. "What is it, Lily?" "Mommy is crying in the boathouse," I said, widening my eyes. "She said Uncle Gavin was hurting her." My father's glass froze halfway to his mouth.
What?
I saw them. Uncle Gavin grabbed her arm and pulled her outside. I think he's hurting her." My father set the glass down. The suspicion that had been boiling in him for weeks erupted. He signaled his security detail with a nod and marched toward the garden. The boathouse was a dim, wooden structure at the edge of our property. My father didn't storm in. He had learned from the hallway incident. He stopped outside the slightly open window, motioning for the security guards to stay back. I crept up behind him, hidden by the hedges. Inside, Charlotte was pacing. She had clearly texted Gavin to meet her there immediately after reading my note. Gavin, confused, had just arrived. "What the hell is going on, Charlotte?" Gavin hissed. "I didn't send a note. Why are we here? It's risky." "You didn't." Charlotte's voice pitched up. "But it said the PI found the phone." "Daniel knows." "Daniel knows nothing," Gavin snapped. "I handle his legal affairs. If he hired a PI, I would know." "We have to kill him," Charlotte whispered. Outside, my father's body went rigid. A vein in his temple began to pulse. "Are you insane?" Gavin whispered back. "He's going to find out about Michael," Charlotte cried. "He's going to find out the brakes on the wheelchair were cut. He's going to find out Michael isn't, that I hate that crippled burden. We have to get rid of Daniel. You said you could tamper with his car like you did with his first wife." Silence. Absolute, suffocating silence. My father turned to look at me. His face was no longer that of a human. It was a mask of pure, unadulterated horror. He looked at me, the daughter he had neglected, the daughter whose mother had died in a car accident, and he realized. "My mother," I whispered, letting a single tear fall. "They killed Mommy?" It was the final nail. My father didn't wait for the guards. He kicked the door open. The crash echoed like a gunshot. Charlotte screamed. Gavin spun around, reaching for something in his jacket, but my father was on him. It wasn't a fight. It was a massacre. My father, fueled by the ghosts of his wife and the crippled legs of his son, unleashed a lifetime of rage. He beat Gavin until the man was unrecognizable. Charlotte tried to run, scrambling toward the door. "Daddy," I screamed, pointing. My father looked up, blood on his knuckles. He lunged, grabbing Charlotte by her hair just as she reached the threshold. He dragged her back into the center of the room. You wanted to leave? He threw her down next to the moaning Gavin. You're never leaving. The police did come this time. My father sat on the bench outside the boathouse, smoking a cigarette, his hands trembling. I sat next to him. Paramedics were wheeling Gavin out on a stretcher. Charlotte was being led away in handcuffs, screaming that she had been framed, that I was a demon child. No one listened. My father looked at me. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, he really looked at me. You knew, he rasped. How did you know? I heard them. I lied softly. A long time ago. But I knew you wouldn't believe me because you loved her. So I had to wait. He buried his face in his hands and wept. It was an ugly, guttural sound. The great Daniel Black, broken by the truth. I didn't hug him. I didn't comfort him. I sat there, swinging my legs, watching the red and blue lights flash against the trees. He had locked me in a cage. He had treated me like a dog. He was a victim, yes, but he was also my tormentor. I had saved him, but I would not forgive him. The garden was in full bloom. I sat on the terrace, sipping tea. I was 18 now. Lily, I turned. Michael rolled his wheelchair out onto the patio. He was 16, handsome, and sharp-witted. He was studying to take over the company. Dad wants to see us and study, he said. What for? He's rewriting the will. Again. Michael rolled his eyes. We went inside. The house was different now. Cold, efficient, but safe. Mrs. Higgins was still the housekeeper, though much older. My father sat behind his desk. He looked old. The night at the boathouse had aged him 20 years. He never remarried. He devoted his life to the company and to atoning for his sins against us.
Sit, he said.
He pushed a document toward us. Everything is split 50-50ths. The company, the assets, the house. Michael runs operations, Lily runs the board. He looked at me, waiting for gratitude. I don't want it, I said calmly. My father blinked. What? I don't want the company. Give it all to Michael. But why? Because I'm leaving, Dad. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. I applied to university in London. I got in. I leave next month. You can't leave, he stammered, panic rising in his voice. You're the only one who keeps this family together. This family fell apart a long time ago, I said. I stayed to make sure Michael was safe. He's safe now. He's strong. I looked at Michael. He smiled, a genuine, warm smile. He knew. He knew I needed to escape the house that smelled of memories and betrayal. Let her go, Dad, Michael said. My father looked between us. He realized, finally, that he had no power. He had money, he had influence, but he didn't have us. We were bonded by trauma he had enabled. Okay, he whispered. Okay. I visited the prison once before I left the country. Charlotte looked terrible. Her beauty had rotted away, leaving a gaunt, gray woman with stringy hair. She sat behind the glass, glaring at me. You, she hissed. It was you. You're a witch. You knew things you couldn't possibly know. I picked up the phone receiver. I'm not a witch, Charlotte. I'm just a girl who learned to close the gate. I curse you, she spat. I hope you die screaming. I laughed. It was a light, airy sound. I already did, Charlotte. And I came back. You should be careful. If you die in here, make sure you don't come back to a house where I am the mother. I hung up the phone. I walked out of the prison and into the bright sunlight. My car was waiting. Michael was in the back seat, holding 2 tickets to the airport. Ready? He asked. Ready? I said. I didn't look back. The past was a closed gate, and I held the key.